Hello, welcome to SEVA VentRounds. Today is March 20, and the topic today is define, because there's many solutions, what your goal is. Today, two items are happening. The first one is we're transmitting live from SECM 2026. And the second is we have a guest instructor, which is Arvind Sungunes from Metro Health, where he's part of the core faculty for the Pulmonary Critical Care Fellowship. And so welcome, Arvind, to the VentRounds.
Thanks for having me, Eduardo.
Your hosts, Eduardo Mireles and Rob Chatburn. Say hello, Rob.
Hello.
Excellent. And just so that everybody is aware, none of us three have any endorsement of any mode, ventilator, or manufacturer. Whatever we say, it's our opinion. It does not represent Cleveland Clinic or Metro Health for that matter. The ground rules is please keep your microphone muted, but you can unmute it if you want to make a comment. We love to hear what you're thinking, or use the chat function. We are monitoring as we speak. There is CME at the end. So if you're a CCF employee, get CME. And if you're an RT anywhere in the world and you claim CRCE, please go ahead. The key here is that you fill your evaluation at the end to receive the credit. We'll start just by highlighting before we dive into the key SEVA knowledge. And I want to take a pause on this item of the three goals. There's only three: safety, comfort, and liberation. And the importance here is that there's one that predominates at any given time when we're caring for the patient, but it also serves as a goal setter of how are you gonna deal with the patient, the interactions, the sedation, the settings. So just having the ability to think through, okay, my goal is safety, that will tell you some items that the type of mode that you want to use so that you can address safety on the patient, the same with comfort and liberation. Rob?
No, that's great. The point is that the order might change. So for example, if it's safety and comfort, it might be safety first with comfort as a major consideration, or comfort first with safety always in the background. The ventilator mode map application gives you the tags for all of the mode brand names, but at the end of the day, it also tells you which of the goals that particular mode will serve, and you see them in those different orders.
I love that. That's a great point. All right, Arvind, it's all yours.
All right, so I guess we can start. Everyone can just take a minute to look at this ventilator waveform, and if you want to type in the chat, what is the tag here?
I'm starting to see
Yes.
piece.
Yeah, So Trish, do you want to explain how you knew this was PCCMVA?
Honestly, just from studying the modes, I remember that PRVC is PCCMVA. Not gonna lie.
Okay. Okay. I guess. Well, then, why don't you just maybe break down sort of what the tag means, like what each element of that is, and then we can see if we can find how we could figure it out from looking here.
Alrighty, so you know that it's pressure control. We're going to be taking a look then with our flow waveform. The CMVA is going to be that it's the, let me think back to my SEVA terminology here of explaining. Give me just a second.
You
It's
can
going
call
to
us
be
up if you need it.
mandatory. It's
Yeah.
mandatory with the CMV. And then the A is the assist, right?
So the A is for adaptive.
Adaptive, sorry.
So the first part, PC, says that this is pressure control. So you're right. You can see that the flow waveform is variable and the pressure waveform is pretty consistent from breath to breath. So that tells you it's PC-CMV or PC. And CMV, as you said, means the breaths are mandatory, which means they can be patient or ventilator triggered, and they're terminated by the ventilator. I don't think you see anything on here that would exactly tell you that, except that all the I times are the same. And then the A is for adaptive, which is what makes this PRVC. So there's a target tidal volume you see in the bottom right there. And so the ventilator is adjusting the pressure to try and achieve that target tidal volume. Does anyone have questions about that, or do they follow? Okay. All right, so we'll go back. We'll go to the next question, which is, what is the load? So we'll start with inspiration. And if you remember, your choices are elastic, resistive, or PMUS. Again, you can type in the chat.
A lot of PMUS coming through.
Yeah, I see a lot of PMUS. Arcel, since you jumped ahead and you said PMUS for both, do you want to start by explaining the PMUS for inspiration and why you're saying that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So as you look at the inspiratory waveform, you'll see that the patient's effort is leading to a usually it should be a rapid acceleration and deceleration of the flow waveform. But as you're seeing here, that there's active patient effort going on in the flow waveform that's leading to the kind of like a sinusoidal sort of waveform pattern that we're seeing as a result of active waveform.
Yeah, it's perfect. So you can see Eduardo highlighted there that all that space above the normal exponential decay signifies PMUS. Okay, and then what about for expiration? What do people think? Is this okay? Sherry says resistive. Any other thoughts? And Arcel already committed to PMUS. Rob says log time constant. Okay. Trish, do you want to, I guess you explained it there, resistive to a longer time constant. Can you explain how you know there is a longer time constant here?
Just looking at each of these and knowing that generally we're looking for at 3 for our time constant, correct? Of like knowing that we've got the how do I want to explain it? Just looking that the percent of the initial volume that's left in the lungs would be down to 5. So when I kind of look down here at my actual time constants, generally we're looking at 3, if I remember correctly. And so we've got a pretty long right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor on the screen.
No, we can't.
You can't? Okay. I don't know what's going on. But when I count it out, it takes a lot longer to return to baseline. And so that's what's telling me that we've got a resistive load. when it comes to it being a longer time constant.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It has a relatively slow decay,
Mhm.
and yeah, Rob is pointing out the math there that a normal time constant is about half a second, and so a normal passive expiration would be about a second and a half. And this patient, you can see it doesn't completely expire even in the 2 seconds and change of this expiratory time. Arcel, you said PMUS. Do you want to talk about why you said PMUS?
Yeah, I looked at the expiratory waveform, like there wasn't a rapid, like sort of like uh deceleration, like flow back to waveform, in the sense that I think there were some, I don't know if these are efforts that I'm seeing on the expiratory waveform. That could be the fact that the patient, uh, that there's active effort going on. So that's why I thought this is probably PMOS going on there. But hard to
yeah,
argue against resistive.
Yeah, I think, does anyone have a guess about what those what else those could be other than efforts?
Cardiac oscillations as well. Or
Yeah, I think that's right. I think those are probably cardiac oscillations. You can see they're pretty rhythmic. You see, I think there's even another one there, probably buried in the very first part of expiration. Yeah, there. And what? So they're pretty evenly spaced out. So that was harder to see. Okay, and then let's work through any discordances. So we'll start with trigger. Does anyone see? Is it normal, early, late, false, failed? We've got 1 vote for normal and 1 vote for late. Do either of you guys want to defend your answer here? Sherry,
Well, that's
you wanna
okay.
weigh
She
in?
did it.
I suppose you could argue that it is late, but there really is no
She like, I think, I don't know. I've never seen her.
exact definition
I'm
of
pretty sure she, like,
how
shows
long
like, over
before,
the
from the start of the patient effort to the time that
But I mean, it's
to the
just
patient
such a
gets the
standard.
breath.
But still, she
There really
loves
is no
you.
identified time. So,
Yeah.
But if
I mean, you
were to
could
slow
argue
down,
because there
especially
is,
you're a
if you look
first
at the
player,
pressure waveform,
probably,
Yeah.
but I guess she does pretty good. Like,
it
she
does,
has
there
confidence
is
in-
there is a
I
little bit of a
actually think so.
delay before the breath actually starts. So,
Yeah, but if you're
Yeah.
so big,
but it's not,
From where
it's
you
not
start to see
real
it dip
long.
until, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess you could argue that it's late.
Yeah. It seems pretty quick. Well, less than a quarter of a second, but
That big dip could also
another, like, 20 or
be
30
the
conversations
PMOS
with
too.
yeah.
There's a girl that
And Rob says, depends on how much auto peep when the effort starts. Do you want to explain that, Rob?
Well, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but as you can see here, that the effort starts right where you're pointing there. When you have an abrupt increase in the expiratory flow, see the flow is going pretty much exponential. All of a sudden, it starts abruptly. So right at the start of that change is where I would say where PMUS happened. It started, PMUS happened there. And it takes a few milliseconds for that PMUS to force the flow to go to zero, right? And the reason for that is, there's still flow wanting to come out of the patient.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to include at that moment, that you would see that there was some auto peep. So the ventilator can't even begin to know that the patient did anything, let's say you're on NAVA, until flow crosses zero. So that little bit of time delay, as Sherry says, you can argue that, if you strictly define late trigger as the difference in time from the start of the PMUS to the start of the flow, then it's probably, a delay. But if there was no auto peep, then there would be no delay. And in fact, the other breaths show that it's a pretty quick rise in the flow after the start of PMUS, if you go to the right or to the left. And that's because there was very little auto peep at the time that the patient made the effort. So that's why the difference in timing between the start of effort and the start of flow, in this case, depends on when it happens because of the auto peep.
Yeah, that's a great point. So in this graph, just I'm fitting it here, but you can see one that it's late and one that it's normal, right? So it crosses immediately as it changes the path. And I would highlight here, even though we have asked you that when you're looking for the trigger, look at the flow because you're controlling pressure, but you can see the effect on the pressure, how much it drops here compared to this one. So the amount of the patient was not able to trigger because of the auto peep, as Rob said. So I really like that. Great example, great read. Oh, sorry.
All right. So then we can move on to inspiration. Is there assistance, over assistance, or under assistance?
So I've seen two answers for under assistance.
Yeah.
Arvin.
I hate to call them the same people every time, but Arcel, I guess I called on Sherry last time. Do you want to explain the under assistance here?
Sure. Yeah, so if you were to look at the waveform, you'll see that looking at there's active patient effort going on based on the flow waveform. You look at the pressure waveform, there's like a deflection that goes below the baseline, and then it kind of goes up above the baseline as well. That's showing that there's patients working hard, there's under assistance going on.
Yeah. So I agree that this is under assistance, and in PRVC that the ventilator is trying to adjust the pressure to provide the tidal volume that you're targeting. That's the A part of the mode tag. And you can see in the bottom right that the inspiratory volumes are actually larger than we've set, and so the ventilator has basically here gradually reduced the amount of inspiratory pressure until it is giving very little. It's basically giving the patient CPAP in this example. So I agree this is under assistance.
In fact, you could argue there's no assistance.
Yes.
Because of what you just said.
Zero assistance.
CPAP
yes.
doesn't give you assistance.
Yeah. Okay. Then the cycle. Normal, early, or late.
So you have three earlys.
Yeah, everyone's early. All right. Ryan, do you want to explain how you know there is an early cycle?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It looks to me, it depends on what I was actually looking at the screen when we were talking about cardiac oscillations. On the pressure waveform, that deflection at the end of inspiration to me looks like it could potentially be further patient effort, especially given that we contributed most of the inspiration pressure waveform to PMUS. And so to me, it looks like, and yeah, thank you for Dr. Mireles pointing out on the flow waveform, that same deflection as well. To me, that looks like the patient's still trying to pull in another breath as the vent is cycling off the inspiratory cycle.
Yeah, so what Dr. Mireles is drawing there is what you'd expect to see in a normal passive expiration, that sharp drop in or increase in expiratory flow, and then a gradual decay. But as you can see, the maximal expiratory flow is delayed here, and it doesn't reach that sharp peak. And that tells you that the patient's effort, like you said, continues into expiration. They're continuing to try and draw additional volume even once the ventilator ends the breath. All right, and then in expiration, so is this normal or is there expiratory work? One vote for normal. Yeah, that's so. Arcel, I guess. Do you want to talk about what you would see if there was expiratory work here? How you know there isn't any?
I don't see any deflections. Just see rhythmic oscillations, like you said,
Yeah.
which are likely cardiac. So I would see deflections in the expiratory waveform.
Yeah, and so those deflections, like Dr. Mireles is drawing, should actually increase expiratory flow. If the patient is doing expiratory work, there should be sort of rounding of that and straightening out of that expiratory flow waveform, rather than in a normal sort of exponential decay like there is in this example. All right, good. Anyone have any other questions or thoughts here?
Yeah, the key idea here is when you're looking at the expiratory flow waveform, anything that shifts the flow waveform in a positive direction is inspiratory work.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that pushes it in a negative direction is expiratory work. So in fact, we have some inspiratory work during the expiratory time, but no expiratory work is evident here, right?
That's wonderful. So let me ask you a question. Group, now that you have beautifully read this waveform, and I'm going to start from the bottom up. If the goal was liberation for this patient, what would you do for this patient?
There's a question from Steve here. So I was gonna, he says, if PRVC on the maquette is similar to autoflow on a Draeger, then the inspiratory flow assistance stopped as soon as the set VT was reached while the patient was still actively inhaling. So PRVC on the maquette is the same. They both have the same mode tag as autoflow on a Draeger, BC with autoflow on the Draeger. But the inspiratory, the inspiratory period lasts as long as it is set. So it lasts for the entire I time. And it doesn't end just because they reach the set tidal volume, which is why this patient is receiving a larger tidal volume than the set one.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then
that's correct. Some ventilators, one of them is this ventilator, the servo I and the U, in which it's when they get that tidal volume, that it's 1.5
larger,
times the tidal volume. Yeah, yep, very good. So I Steve wrote was the pressure support to allow patient to determine their own desired tidal inspiratory time. I just wanted to ask, is that if the goal was liberation, Steve? Yeah, there you go. This is so. I presume, Arvin, why don't you talk to us? I mean, if your goal was liberation for this patient, what would you be thinking here in terms of therapy?
SPT, yes. Well, if your goal is liberation here, you would want to favor something that would relatively under assist the patient, but also optimize comfort. So I think you could choose pressure support if you were targeting liberation with the relatively low set inspiratory pressure. What do people think if your goal was comfort here? Pressure support is one option. Are there other options for comfort?
So I think.
Are you saying, Steve?
Go
Are you
ahead.
saying that for in terms of getting the patient liberated or for comfort? Sorry, we have many questions happening at once. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So Jorge votes for PCCSV, either S or A. For comfort, you're saying, Jorge? Do you want to kind of explain how that would optimize comfort in this patient?
Well, I was thinking that he would work good with a non-limited flow mode, and that's and also control the inspiratory time and everything by him. So that's why I'm thinking of a spontaneous or maybe an
Yeah.
PCCSV.
Yeah. So I guess if you were going to put this patient on PCCSVA, so that would be I guess on the servo, this would be volume support, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That this would mean you would set a target tidal volume. So what would happen in this patient if you set that target tidal volume, say, to 480 again?
So yeah, I think that the work
Again, you would
shifting would
end up
be. Yeah,
under
go ahead. Sorry.
assistance. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
So you would again end up with under assistance as it tried to achieve that target tidal volume. So Rob suggests Nava. So I think the thing you could think about here for comfort is a servo mode. So Nava would be good because this would increase the support the ventilator provides in proportion to the patient's effort.
Yeah. And then their last one is safety. Arvind, what are our thoughts there? Is there a mode that can help us here?
Well, you could think about putting this patient on volume control or BCCMVS, but does anyone know what issues you might run into if you were to say put them again on 480 with BCCMVS? So this patient would continue to work very hard, and they would be even, I think, further under assisted because the ventilator would fix their volume. You would probably see negative deflections in that pressure waveform during inspiration below the PEEP. And you would probably run into worse cycle desynchrony that they may even trigger again as the breath cycles off. So if you're prioritizing safety here, you would need to decide, am I really trying to tightly control their tidal volumes? And if so, you might need more sedation and or even paralysis in such a patient.
That's great. That's wonderful. Oh yeah, I love the comment from Rob. You want to highlight that, Rob?
Yes, the answer was right, Marcel, but you kind of jumped over the thought process, which was, why is this patient doing this? It's abnormally high inspiratory effort. Is there something that can be addressed? Is it pain? Is it anxiety? Is it low O2? There might be some reason for a patient doing this that you can address before you just sedate him.
Right. Yeah, or it could be a metabolic acidosis, for example.
Correct.
That could be driving all of this inspiratory effort. Exactly right.
So yeah, this was fantastic. So I think that the item, and that's why we wanted to talk about the goal, is how the solution is different according to your goal for this patient. So since we're at the end of the time, do you want to send us with some key findings and take home messages, Arvin?
Sure. So I guess some of the key findings here are being able to recognize under assistance in PCCMVA or PRVC. And we recognize sort of a cycle dysynchrony, so a late cycle, as another sign of that patient inspiratory effort. Yeah, that's good.
What was the second one? Sorry.
That we recognize late cycling as that blunting of the expiratory flow waveform.
Early cycle.
Sure. Yeah, sorry, early cycle.
Excellent.
Good. And also that a late trigger can be caused by auto PEEP. And then I think the take-home message on this one is that their selection of mode, as always, depends on the goals for your patient and the underlying cause of the synchrony.
Very good. That's wonderful. Yeah, the goal drives the mode, drives the care, drives the sedation, drives the strategy. Well, I want to thank you, Arvin. Outstanding job. Thank you for being our guest facilitator today to SEVA VentRounds. We love you being part of the SEVA family. I want to highlight everybody. Here's the CME for CCF caregivers, as well as the link for CRC for the RTs. And here is our emails for Rob and myself. Well, Rob, I think, Rob, is your email working right now?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct still.
Excellent. And so if you want to come and learn more, come to the SEVA Summit or any of our courses that we're doing across the country and the world. We love to learn along everybody. So thank you very much and have a great afternoon. Excellent job, man. Bye-bye.